Hi, folks. Today's episode is brought to you by one of my favorite sponsors. Are we live?
Yeah, we are.
Okay, great. It's election day, ladies and gentlemen. Are you feeling a little anxious? Well, that's perfect. Well, it's not perfect, actually, but it's a perfect use case for your Sunset Lake Seder. You can find it at sunsetlakesebede.com. Use the code LEFTISBEST. You'll get 20% off. You get 20% off smokables, pre-rolls, keef. You get 20% off of tinctures to help you relax, tinctures to help you go to sleep, tinctures with a little THC that will help you have fun. You can have Sebede infused fudge and Sebede infused coffee. You can have, you can use some of their lotions and their salves, all with Sebede grown in the beautiful Vermont sunshine without any pesticides. That's right. They use integrated pest management, which means that they grow a bunch of different crops that counteract pest stuff. I don't know. Also, regenerative farming practices that they built in conjunction with the University of Vermont. And on top of it all, these guys are great movement partners. They have donated tens of thousands of dollars to things like strike relief funds, carceral reform, Planned Parenthood, refugee resettlement. They've engaged in mutual aid up in Vermont in the wake of the floods. Just an all-around great company, all-around great product, and all-around great deal. 20% off with the coupon code LEFTISBEST. Check it out. And now, time for the show.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
It is Tuesday, November 4, 2025. My name is Sam Seder. This is the five-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, from the Hasan Piker Show? What is the name of the show? Hasan Piker will be here. Also on the program today, Election Day.
Woo!
It is the first of Trump's second term. Big races in Virginia and New Jersey for the governorship. Key referendums in Maine, California, other states. And there's a significant mayor's race in New York City. It's not only going to have material implications for the city, but could very well provide a narrative for how Democrats can win across the country.
Minneapolis, too. Omar Fateh.
That's right. Meanwhile, disgraced, uncharged war criminal Dick Cheney, dead at age Nosferatu. Some Senate Dems are hinting at caving as the shutdown becomes longest ever and exceedingly painful for a lot of people, including Donald Trump. SNAP benefits, most particularly, will restart, but only at half the amount that beneficiaries have been getting, and it will also be delayed. U.S. manufacturing shrinks for the 8th month. U.S. proposes a UN-mandated international force for Gaza. Trump sued on its regime's restrictions on student loan forgiveness. Tucker, Fuentes, and Heritage They're in turmoil on the right because of their love of groypers. Lastly, Israel arrests the leaker of a video showing Israeli soldiers raping a Palestinian hostage detainee. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is
Newsday Tuesday, but most importantly, it's Election Day.
It's Election Day. And we're going to have a guest in studio in just moments.
Yes, very exciting.
We found out that Dick Cheney died. He needed a couple of minutes to get himself together. He was
Couldn't
very
find
upset.
my kazoo anywhere.
He was very upset. Honestly, look, I think folks know my policy around here when someone passes away. I think it is, obviously I only know Dick Cheney through his role as vice president and as a congressman and as a senator. It is a real shame that he passed away not in a jail cell and not having to have had to account for the absolute horrors he's brought on directly for literally hundreds of thousands, if not 1 million Iraqis. And obviously, U.S. military personnel who lost their lives in a complete lie of a war. He also is, in many respects, responsible not just for the Republican Party and the direction it took that brought us Donald Trump, but he was also more sort of directly involved in the unitary executive theory, which has empowered Donald Trump, has eviscerated Congress's role in curtailing our military adventures, as it were. I don't think it is hard to find one individual who is more responsible for the worst of America over the course of the past, let's say, 35 years. I mean, there's challengers.
Well, good thing that the Democrats didn't try to rehabilitate his image in the last presidential election for some reason.
Run around with their daughter to save democracy.
To no effect, to actually negative effects. Oh, wait, that actually happened.
Anybody who remembered Dick Cheney, which was, about at least half the electorate and directly, and then, others who were, even remotely aware of him would have known, he was a bad person.
Yeah.
He was a bad person.
And the Trump crypto, grifting off the government and the lack of accountability on that open corruption. I mean, I think you can trace it to Dick Cheney as well, where he was basically indirectly profiting with his continued stake in Halliburton throughout his vice presidency as we were waging an illegal war in Iraq.
The entire project for New American Century, which he was a big part of back in 1991, ended up bringing about just horrors untold. And here he is telling one of the lies that he told to the American public. Now, just a reminder, we couldn't find this clip for whatever reason. It's not as dramatic because he's not lying directly into your face. He's lying
at a lectern.
See, here, this clip is more powerful because you see both his eyes as he's lying to you. When he was on Meet the Press, it's shot from the side, so you really only get one eye. And on Meet the Press, the famous sort of ultimate lie that he told was he had Scooter Libby, his chief of staff, leak false information to Judy Miller. She was so eager to hoover it up. Judy Miller was a reporter at the New York Times, and they leaked fake information that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. Now, we know it's fake because Saddam Hussein did not have these weapons. So the information they had was fake. And he would visit the Pentagon. He was pushing for this type of information. They did it all in a bureaucratic way. And because, you know, all sorts of raw information comes in and then it is assessed. And what they did is they decided not to have any of the information assessed. And they just took the raw information. Incidentally, that's how basically like the entire Republican Party functions now, to be clear. And Scooter Libby gave the information to Judith Miller. And then Dick Cheney, to sell the war to Americans, goes on Meet the Press at a time like when we barely had an internet. People got their news from Meet the Press at the time. I know that sounds insane, but it's true. And he went on there and he said, they asked, like, what evidence do you have of these weapons of mass destruction? And then he quotes the New York Times, which, of course, he was the source for the New York Times.
People are saying.
But here he is. And just, I want you to pay attention to the word, I think it is, we know. You cannot know something if it's untrue. I cannot know that the moon is square because it's clearly not. But if I say the moon is, if I say I know the moon is square and that we know the moon is square and you don't have any other information, that's called a lie.
Simply stated, there is no doubt that Saddam Hussein now has weapons of mass destruction. There is no doubt that he is amassing them to use against our friends, against our allies, and against us. And there is no doubt that his aggressive regional ambitions will lead him into future confrontations with his neighbors, confrontations that will involve both the weapons he has today and the ones he will continue to develop with his oil wealth.
I don't know what else to say about him, frankly. But Galactic Nurse Boogs says the movie Vice, a comedy about Cheney, is so good. Christian Bale is a douche, but the movie is so good. I saw that a screening with that with was it McKay who made that?
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, I did not enjoy the movie. I think that like there was too much of an effort to humanize Cheney in this, and I'm sorry. You know, like it might be interesting is 70 years down the road to see sort of like a psychodrama, like why did Hitler do the things he did? And maybe his mom was mean to him or something, but I'm sorry. I feel like it diminished the absolute horror that Dick Cheney unleashed on this country in many respects, and obviously directly on hundreds of thousands of innocent Iraqis.
Well, we've been talking about how the war on terror has been brought home, and ICE is a creation of the war on terror. I know people act like abolishing ICE is this crazy radical position, but it didn't exist prior to 9/11. Basically the torture that we are now engaging in and the horrific conditions that we put immigrants in, Dick Cheney and the torture regime under Bush was responsible for that abroad. It's bringing the war on terror here. And the only thing I can say is that, unfortunately, it seems like there's probably no waterboarding in hell, right? Because they just don't have the material for waterboarding, I would guess. They can work on something else, right?
Fireboarding.
Fireboarding. Lava boarding.
I mean, he's inert now. He's dirt, Dick Cheney. And it's... Yeah, like, and you said, Sam, and as Will Miniker said, like, it's a shame that he never faced any sort of accountability in his life.
Now,
should have been in The Hague.
As upset I am about that, I will say I did actually pull a hamstring this morning dancing on So, first a word from our sponsors, and then in studio, we've got to clear stuff out to make room. Hasan Piker will be here. And I mean, we'll deal with the denouncing that we have to do in a bit. Today's sponsor, Delete Me, makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online when a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. And of course, there's a lot of lunatics out there. You want to keep your personal information safe. I've been using Delete Me for at least 10 years, way before they became a sponsor. It's a great service. It scrubs you from these data brokers. And really, like, even if you're not somebody who, for me, obviously the primary use case for Delete Me is I don't want to be doxxed easily. I mean, obviously, some stuff, you know, I don't know if somebody works at the DMV, I suppose it's possible, but I don't want to be doxxed. And but the other issue is that you have phishers, Phishers, who will buy information on the dark web about you and then couple it with stuff they can get from data brokers for a couple of bucks and use it to both steal your identity, to send you links, to email you in such a way that it makes it sound like they know you, whatever it is. Delete Me does all the hard work of wiping you and your family's personal information from data broker websites. Delete Me knows your privacy is worth protecting. You sign up, you provide Delete Me with exactly what information you want deleted. Their experts take it from there. And this is the best part about Delete Me. They send you every month or regularly, based upon how long they've scrubbed it, personalized privacy reports that show you what they found, where they found it, and what they removed. So Delete Me is not a one-time service. It just continues to do it because those media broker site or those information broker sites, they repopulate. So Delete Me is constantly working, constantly monitoring the internet, and constantly removing your stuff. I want to thanks to Delete Me for sponsoring the program and, frankly, for their product that I've used for quite a while. Take control of your data. Keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me now at a special discount for our listeners. You get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to this website, joindeleteme.com/majority. Use the promo code majority at checkout. The only way to get 20% off, go to joindeleteme.com/majority. Enter the code majority at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/majority. Code is majority. Quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking to Hasan Piker. We are back. Sam Seder, Emma Vigeland on the Majority Report. Before we introduce our next guest, we need to play this video.
America deserved 9/11, dude.
That's Zoran's buddy, Hasan Piker, saying we deserve 9/11. It's a disgrace to every life lost. Zoran went on Piker's show, and now Piker was just spotted at Zoran's event. Mamdani is wrong for New York. Paid for by 4R City.
America.
We are back.
Did you know?
We are back, and I just want to introduce our first guest by saying I condemn him.
Disavow.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Disgusting. And Hasan Piker, not welcome here.
Yeah. I snuck in. Like I snuck into the Zoran event.
Yes.
I just keep finding myself sneaking into these like high profile events.
I'd say infiltrated.
Yeah.
Infiltrated.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what's scarier.
Intifada, obviously. To do enchiladas.
I mean, part of the problem is we're just too afraid to say get out.
Yeah.
And so now we're all
I
just
come
here.
in and muscle my way through
we're
the
all
door.
just looking around
You Muslim
at
your way through
everybody.
the door.
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of tequila. That's what it is. I just I keep lying to people about my secret woke anti-white jihad that I want to do. And everyone's always like, "Oh, you're just like a Twitch streamer," but it's like secretly I have,
we're on air, right?
Oh no. This is going to be in the next Michael Bloomberg $7 million attack ad. He's
Exactly.
Like, Hasan Piker, scary Muslim. He does woke Sharia.
What is the next election do you think that you're going to be used in? I mean, this is if it doesn't work in this one, I just don't know which one it's going to work in.
I don't think they're going to drop it. I've been talking to a lot of politicians and insiders on the Democratic side about this stuff, and even some members of the media as well. And there are people are just like kind of shocked that this has been like a primary focus of the Cuomo campaign, because like it's so confusing to everyone.
It's so confusing.
I have yet to be stopped in the street to be like, "You're the guy. You're the terrorist guy. You did 9/11." No one has tied me to 9/11 yet.
All right. Well, let me ask you this. And then I want to move on to stuff that's more contemporaneous. But did you use a hologram to take down the building? Like, how exactly?
So
steel does not melt.
Yeah, jet fuel does not melt steel beams.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, we're
so
back
what did
on
you
that,
do?
too.
Well, I just wanted to find out, like, how did you do this?
Yeah. I was a very impressive 10-year-old.
There you go.
A lot of people said, like, you know, I was cranking 90s Fortnite style on my flight simulator. And I was just I was able to do all of it at the age of 10 from Turkey.
I'll tell you something. I don't know if you saw the movie War Games with Matthew Broderick, but almost the same thing happened in that too.
I did not see that movie.
Accidentally almost started.
I did not
off,
see that movie because I was too busy planning out another 9/11.
He was on a computer. He almost started World War III because of it.
And
It's a
Zoran
very
was
similar
what,
story.
like 9, right?
Yeah,
During 9/11,
me-
so that's
me
what we
and him
call
are
a
the
sleeper
same
cell.
age, yeah.
Sleeper
You
cell.
You guys were 9 and 11.
Yeah. Exactly. What did we know?
Numerology, baby.
And I think it almost feels like they just kind of gave up on like attacking Zoran, but they did want to like appease their big ticket billionaire Zionist donors, and they were like, what's the next best thing that we can just like unload $3.5 million, because that's what you just watched. Michael Bloomberg came in at the last second and was like, we haven't hit this Hasan guy hard enough, and that PAC put that out, and they're like, I'm getting text messages from my friends that live out here.
Electile Dysfunction says the Knicks game was more Hasan commercials than actual play.
Yeah, no, they like in between like Capital One, you just have like, this guy is the architect of 9/11, like, which is crazy. But I think it's gonna go away eventually. I don't know. I don't think anybody.
Isn't it nuts that they use like that? They blew all their money on that, but then they do AI ads, which is like probably they're cheaping out on getting actual artists to participate in their ads.
Yeah, they should get real artists to portray me as doing 9/11.
Exactly.
That's what I think as well. I agree.
That's the leftist position.
Good input, Emma.
Yeah, pay some. Yeah,
Use
commission
union labor.
commission some real artists.
I couldn't hear you.
Commission some real artists to do the real work instead of these.
It is interesting though that they are desperate to try and find, if they continue on with this with you, like try and use you as some type of boogeyman down the future. They're gonna have to mainstream, like what they really should do is finance like a cable television for you, so that you're across a bunch of different platforms.
Yeah.
Then go back and demonize, because the 50-year-olds and 60-year-olds and 70-year-olds they're trying to communicate to, just they don't
I want to find the
get
one
what
guy.
they're talking about. Why are they like they're? I mean, I can only imagine like if my father saw this ad and be like, "What's that? The guy? I don't get it. The guy's in his room." And he's what?
Yeah, the room
Like,
where it all happened.
They don't understand.
Yeah, it's. I think it's like. It's interesting because like it doesn't really work in the same way for someone like myself, because it's not like my views are hidden. Whereas like I think they're trying to maybe isolate me as like a Nick Fuentes style individual, but on the left this time, like a radical leftist. But like my most radical positions are like things that the overwhelming majority of Americans want or would be good overall. So it's not like something that I need to shelter.
He wants you all to have health care that doesn't bankrupt you.
So it's like my most radical positions are like Medicare for all, you know what I mean?
Right.
So and also an end to like all the militarism around the world, and these are positions that are objectively very popular with the American population, as opposed to just like what the white nationalist flank of the Republican Party, like what they want to do is just like mass deportations of anyone that isn't like pure enough in their genetics.
Well, hasn't it been kind of revealing? I mean, that what I have enjoyed about this race is not the Islamophobia, but the fact that so many Democrats are showing their ass on this, and there's hopefully a reckoning of the bigotry within the party here. Like Cuomo delayed, but Cuomo's saying the other day that multiculturalism, or what did he say, diversity doesn't necessarily
Can be a
mean that
weakness,
this is
too.
strength,
Can be a
can
weakness, too.
Yeah.
Like that's Zionism distilled, and that's the kind of thinking that needs to get out of the Democratic Party. The idea that like other races or ethnicities of people need to be separated for safety purposes. The fact that that's even an existing viewpoint in the party. I mean, it's emblematic in Zionism, but that's part of what we need to move past.
And just white nationalism in this country.
But Democrats believe that, right?
Yeah, no, I
and they
mean-
don't think about it in the same terms as white nationalism.
The supremacy.
When they think about,
He
Zionism.
simply wanted to secure an existence for Italian children. That's what it is. That's like, what's wrong with that? I don't want my neighbors in New York to be speaking different languages in New York.
Do you
which
believe
is like,
that Little Italy has a right to exist, Hassan?
No, abolish Little Italy. We're taking it out. That's my position. I'm the anti-Italian ticket. Me and Zoran Mamdani, best friends, by the way, for sure.
From the Lafayette to the Grand.
It has been pretty crazy because like they've been so ruthless about the way that they've been attacking this guy, and so overtly racist about it. Like, yeah, I'm just one dude. I don't know why they like present me as some sort of like secretive leftist kingmaker, because I'm not.
No, I honestly think you hit on it. Like the thing that and this will give us a chance a little bit to segue to something a little bit broader, but the Cuomo campaign at one point, and I feel like it was probably like 2 months ago, when it became clear that Sliwa was not going to drop out.
Yeah.
And that it was so hard to get Adams out because somebody preempted Adams dropping out when they leaked. Somebody interceded. I don't know who it is, but some entity interceded and reported that Adams was getting offered something. So Adams had to back off for a couple of weeks because it would have been too bad of a look to come out right at that time. And it slowed the whole roll. And then it turned out Sliwa was not going to drop out. The Cuomo campaign, the barnacles on the big ship Cuomo, the consultants who like see this as an opportunity to soak Bloomberg and Ackman and all this dumb billionaire money. I think like you provide them, you were like, we can dump a bunch of money into this Hasan thing and make it look like we're doing something. Here,
Paul Bless tweeted this out on October 16th. Why is Cuomo doing this? Who is telling him to talk about Hasan Piker 3 weeks before an election in which he's down 20? And I said I surmised what Hasan sort of said. More and more money consumes democracy. Answer will be an obsessed donor.
Yeah. And it could be, I do have many enemies that are very powerful. So it could be any number of different people. Like Elon Musk spent the week after Charlie Kirk's assassination talking about me and, putting the crosshair on me. So it could be one of those guys. There's plenty of people on the Zionist mega donor side that have, they've presented me as like this guy who is radicalizing their nephews and nieces.
It doesn't end up hurting you. I mean, obviously you don't want to be walking down the airport and people, start, yelling like, "Oh my God!" Like he's watch him. He's a terrorist. But what this is so indicative of is that sort of cohort of Democratic politicians, like that world is such a money soak.
Yeah.
And it is like you are sending, one of these consultants' kids to college, like on this, just on this campaign, maybe 2 or 3 kids to college. And so, but it's indicative of like so much of what we see and why, because we do have a situation now, like I think a good 25% of the vote for Mamdani is a function of Andrew Cuomo is just a disgusting human being, period. Like and like this is the best they could do is they come up with Cuomo in this instance.
Yeah.
The Democratic Party of this ilk is bereft. I mean, listen, Janet Mills is not Andrew Cuomo, but if I wanted to, win in Maine, I wouldn't put up a 70-or-8-year-old politician, particularly now. Like there has never been more sensitivity. Nancy Pelosi is even seeing the writing on the wall. I mean, I know this is hard for people. I read in the post that we're all having to brace for her retirement.
I've been bracing.
But this is like indicative of, I think, an interesting thing that's happening in the Democratic Party is that there's a cleave that is happening on some level, but at the extremes.
It's good though that they are exceptionally weak right now, because I think for the longest time they were able to successfully convince the broader liberal base that electability meant moderate positions, civility politics, and institutionally calcified, sometimes literally calcified figureheads that are stuck to these chairs at the age of like 80. And this was a moment where it was a crowded primary. It almost reminds me of AOC's initial victory. Like those are the opportunities to pounce, I think, when the Democrats just think that they're comfortable in a seat and assume that there's not going to be like a left flank opposition, or there's no viability to such a left flank opposition. Because when they do actually realize that we are forcibly making the party more effective and more electable, that's when they start doing the 2016 Bernie stuff, right? Like aggressively coming after their left flank. So even with the Graham Plattner stuff, regardless of whether you like him or hate him, one thing that I think is indisputable here is the fact that the electability arguments that previously successfully convinced a lot of older voters, a lot of voters in the heart of the liberal base to vote for the establishment pick is no longer working, because they've seen all of the defeats over and over again, especially with Trump, because that's a uniquely embarrassing defeat twice, right? 3 times if you think the election was, stolen.
Good question. Good question.
But basically now they're actually saying, no, I think the populist candidates are the electable ones. That's what I'm hearing, and that's what I'm seeing from average voters. That's what I'm seeing from the polls that I'm looking at, where they're like, I don't care whatever argument you're making on CNN or MSNBC. A guy that comes out and says, I don't like Israel, Israel's doing a genocide, I want Medicare for all, I like that guy. I think that guy is electable in a place like Maine. Yeah. And I think it's that's the reason why we see so much panic, something you pointed out as well, so much panic around the third way neoliberal guys who are just constantly recirculating the same exact studies and think pieces over and over again to be like, the true centrism hasn't been tried, actually. Like, what we need to do is do exactly the same thing that Kamala Harris did.
I mean, the panic, I was on MSNBC on Sunday, and I have never gotten the amount of pushback that I did I was taken aback about basically saying that the centrist wing of the party was losing ground and losing credibility with the voting base, because they feel it too, right? I mean, there's just the voting base is saying, we don't believe you. You've told us over and over again that, hey, maybe Bernie Sanders' ideas sound good and exciting to you, but the most important thing is defeating Donald Trump. Now, losing to him again means, well, maybe the thing that I was drawn to initially was always the right thing to do. And that's, I think, part of why the base is being radicalized. It's a threat to them. And, of course, the Gaza genocide, too.
I'll be honest. I think the average Democrat, and I'm being super sincere when I say this, the average Democratic Party voter hates the Republicans as much as we do, and it's far more hatred than the average Democratic politician has for the Republicans in general. That's the major division.
This has been, honestly, this has been a multiple decades long story. And it was happening in the aughts. We just danced over Dick Cheney's grave. And there was, even during that era, there was this notion of just a complete lack of awareness of, and this is, the middle of the aughts is 10 years out from Newt Gingrich, who, at least, who basically introduced this movement conservatism, which is really just means we're going to basically use an underlying amount of racism and then just drive a lot of basically bullshit and hatred essentially to get our tax cuts and to destroy government. That's been the recipe. And the only thing that's changed in the past 20 years is that the balance between the people who thought they were basically leveraging that stuff and the people who actually believed it and were leveraging it in the party just shifted. And it happened, during like the Tea Party era when Eric Cantor got voted out, was like, oh, we've been cosplaying on some level, like, Eric Cantor's like, well, I'm racist, but I don't really care that. I don't really care that much. And, I was just doing it to basically get a corporate sinecure. And then those people took over and the whole party is that way for the most part now.
Yeah.
And I think, broadly speaking, this shutdown is indicative of part of that same sort of dynamic, which is there's two different things that operate simultaneously. The partisanship, which is distinct from an ideology, right? Like the one thing is like, we're in a fight against these people. What's the best strategy to make our side win? That's the partisanship. Then the other is the ideology within the context of the Democratic Party. But the problem they also have is, and they'll shift, like I noticed this with my debate with Ezra Klein, they will shift from electability to
governance
seamlessly, but now they're losing on both ends.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the funny thing that I've at least noticed, and I know we're probably going to talk about this because you briefly alluded to it in the intro, is also the sincerity in which like a lot of the base of the Republican Party are just openly white supremacists now, as opposed to just kind of using it as like a wedge issue, where you're seeing on the one hand like Dinesh D'Souza being like, how did we get so racist? And it's like, brother, have you seen your son-in-law married to your daughter? He is like advancing the anti-Indian hatred on the Republican Party side. And they're
did
talking.
you see what you did with Obama?
Did you see who you dated, Ann Coulter?
Yeah, there's that. Right? And also, on the other hand, you have this massive fissure now within the Heritage Foundation coming out and being like, we like Tucker and we like Pat Buchanan, but we don't like Nick Fuentes. Or we should still talk to Nick Fuentes, where they're like trying to massage this idea of like being, overtly anti-Semitic and being comfortable with like overt anti-Semitism. And the question always is like, if you're galvanizing force at the heart of your ideology, at the heart of your movement was like racism and bigotry and hatred of all sorts, why did you ever think that it wouldn't eventually also go back to Jewish people as well? As a matter of fact, you should have always assumed it was inevitably going to be Jewish people that are at the crosshairs of this, because that's like the oldest Christian tradition, is blaming Jews for everything.
And so much of that KKK, sort of like that John Birch Society, which Buchanan is a direct descendant of, is that the Jews are the ones responsible for bringing in the immigrants and the black people, and that's why the Jews use them in that way. But I think, the tough part, like as you say, is how do they split that difference? Because the difference between Pat Buchanan and Nick Fuentes is really just like the era they grew up in and what you could and could not say.
Yeah, I don't think Pat Buchanan is
60
like
years is the difference.
Right.
I don't think Pat Buchanan is going on a date with like a gay cat boy. You know what I mean? Like Nick Fuentes did do that. Also, Pat Buchanan isn't Mexican.
Putting aside, I mean, listen, I have no idea if Pat Buchanan is or was secretly gay.
Mm-hmm.
So I grant you, there's differences.
We know he wasn't Mexican.
There's differences between these people. I have no idea about Pat Buchanan. I
yeah.
do know that Pat Buchanan would bring me on to MSNBC in the aughts because I was the only Jew he could find who would criticize Israel, and it was one of the most dirty feeling things ever.
Yeah.
To know that he was he was using me in that way, but there was just no criticism at the time of Israel.
Yeah. The worst part about guys like that is that there is so much like like there is so much awfulness going on in terms of like Israel's involvement in like Middle Eastern agenda, in our Middle Eastern foreign policy, that like you hate to have people like that be the driving force behind the anti-Zionist sentiment in the country. And unfortunately, when in the absence of people like yourself getting prominent slots in media, that's the only person that people hear from. So they end up thinking Tucker Carlson, who in the past, I saw an older video of him actually criticizing Pat Buchanan recently from when he was in his bow tie days, where he's talking about how like anti-Semitic Pat Buchanan is, but he's doing it in the most like Tucker way possible. And Tucker Carlson now becoming the Pat Buchanan figure in the base of the party.
He did the same thing with Bill O'Reilly. In 99, he was on C-SPAN, maybe it was 99, he had written a book and he was talking about how Bill O'Reilly was a faux populist. And he said, like, eventually he's going to get, the quote was something to the effect of, like, he's going to be in an airplane. He's going to send back his, what's that drink with the champagne and the orange juice, his mimosa, and yell at the stewardess. And it's going to be, he's going to get outed as as not actually a populist. And then I think what happened with Tucker, and I think you saw this with Pat Buchanan too, was like he actually never got outed as not like it wasn't a problem, and so he just said that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, the Heritage Foundation was, as of like I think last month, petitioning the government to give petitioning the administration to give Pat Buchanan a Medal of Honor, like a posthumous Medal of Honor.
That's better. That's the right way to say it.
Yeah.
But like what we're really kind of dancing around here with this is it's a major failure of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
That continuously for the first year and a half of this genocide allowed for the conflation of Zionism with Judaism, and then you get the rise of figures like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's trying to position herself for 2028. Jeet here made this point, I keep returning to it, that she's doing the Trump, which is saying all the things that the base wants you to say, but that basically the Republican establishment isn't saying to gain credibility with them. But she's like tweeting at AIPAC, like, I won't accept your shekels and stuff like that. And it's so obviously anti-Semitic. And yet there's this like, I don't know, rush to carry water for her. I think probably because she's filling some sort of vacuum, but the vacuum is the fault of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
And that's what's scary about it, is that we're seeing a real, eventually we knew we were going to get here, but a major, major rise in genuinely anti-Jewish hatred in the country. It's being led by major figures in the Republican Party. And what, Tucker Carlson's a top 10 political podcast in the country. Candace Owens, also a top 10 political podcast in the country. That's scary.
Yeah, good thing the ADL was mostly focused on your boy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For the last 2 years. I looked it up and I couldn't believe it. They brought up Nick Fuentes 0 times post October 7, and they almost entirely focused their efforts on me and like friends of mine on Twitch, none of which were anti-Semitic at all. They were just anti-Israel, and they just hyper focused on seemingly the only anti-Zionists who aren't anti-Semitic in media.
I think that faction, like who the ADL represents, understood that if support for Israel in the Democratic Party, and broadly speaking, like the center to the left, if that collapses, they have a real problem, because they've been able to deliver Kufi has always been there, but that is basically static. They don't know that they can get outside of that, and they know that there's actual anti-Semitism there that they would not fight, so they would not alienate their Kufi people.
Yeah.
But what they have always been afraid of I think has happened, and it is a matter of time. And this is something that was clear was going to happen even 15 years ago, that eventually the Democratic Party, broadly speaking, because of its aspirational values, cannot support Israel. It just can't. You cannot support things from like starting in 1965 with like the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act and have that as your legacy. And the contradiction is just too intense.
Yeah.
You can't do it. It's not sustainable. Now, it's been sustainable for 60 years, to be fair, but that's involved a tremendous amount of effort. And what we're seeing now is like white knuckled attempt to stop that from happening, and it's happening.
Yeah. No, it's because you no longer have the only mechanisms, the only organs of like informing the public were a much more pliant media ecosystem that in unison was talking about how either never talking about what Israel was up to or only talking about it in like super positive terms. Definitely. And then all of a sudden, when you have this explosion of online content and things of that nature, and people are like, what the hell? Like, I'm seeing charred children, but then, Jake Tapper's talking about how this is actually totally justifiable with like an Israeli admiral. And that created a massive wedge between what the public's opinion is and what like the media ecosystem and the politicians' opinion is on Israel and how to like continuously defend it.
And that's why I think they come after you, is because they can go and they can try and buy Twitter, or Twitch. They can buy Twitter, obviously. They can buy Twitch. They can do all these other things. TikTok rather. But independent creators like yourself who are reaching millions of people, that's problematic. And I think what's interesting is that that dynamic is an extreme, puts it in like extreme relief. But there's a similar dynamic happening, I think, within like in the context of like less sort of in more nuanced areas like the Democratic Party. Like I think like Chuck Schumer wouldn't have this problem that he has now 25 years ago. He wouldn't have like, defections of like people like Schiff of all people or Heinrich going and meeting with candidates that Schumer and Gillibrand are running against in Democratic primaries. Now, with that said, let's look at Chuck Schumer. Has been fighting the good fight. Credit where credit is due. There's word now reporting that there's 8 Democrats. I think I mentioned this yesterday, that there was always going to be a gang of like 5 or 10. It looks like a gang of 8 on the Democratic side, probably like 4 on the Republican side, to come to some deal to make it look like, to end the shutdown. The problem is like, it's quite clear that Trump is on his heels. I mean, he's yelling at them to get rid of the filibuster, and I would please get rid of the filibuster. But part of it is obviously Trump is feeling the heat from guys like Chuck Schumer. Check this out.
Trump also celebrated that grocery prices are going down. Which grocery store does he shop in? Probably none.
Banger.
Flamethrower.
Banger. Dude, can he say that? Can he say? Is he allowed to do that? That's crazy.
But probably none.
You can only do that on the Senate floor. Otherwise, you get in trouble.
Wow.
You're protected because you're a congressman.
There's a way to do that where, like, to Sam, you give like alternate explanations for like shitty political answers, where you just go, he's so out of touch. This guy, this rich guy, doesn't feel your pain. He probably doesn't know what the price of a gallon of milk is.
Imagine him in an aisle.
Yeah, but like not this throw. But probably not. Weak.
He's just Rizless. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. Like, him and Hakeem Jeffries are so bad. They just have no Riz, like no charisma.
No, I know what
Riz
means.
So ineffective as communicators. And this is quite literally a major part of the reason why Biden was unsuccessful as a leader, because he was demented and old and could not speak effectively and could not speak convincingly on some of the modest changes that they were making, some of the marginal improvements that they were making. And it's crazy to me that the Democrats have consistently continued in this dynamic media environment, especially continue to not look within and dig into their talent pool to try and bring out fresh faces that will actually effectively launch a fight against Donald Trump and the Republicans. And that's why they are underwater and less popular than the Republican Party is right now.
Yeah, and also just to say, like, why does Donald Trump overperform in presidential elections and the Republican Party underperforms in off year? It's because he has a communication style that cuts above literally everything else. He's a direct communicator. It sounds insane, but people like think he sounds like he's speaking off the cuff, because he often is, regardless of like what he's saying in terms of the lies. That is where, like, you hear Chuck Schumer talking about, the social media that we have to get involved in.
Yeah.
They're so behind. That should have been the conversation 10 years ago. Now you've got to be speaking directly to people in a way that makes sense to them. That's part of why Zoran is such an effective communicator. I know that, like, he's talented in many ways, but it's also the fact that he doesn't treat voters like idiots, and he comes out with policy platforms where he speaks directly to you about what he's trying to do. And that is the antidote as well, in my view.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the Democratic Party, more so than the Republicans, has always had a sort of like, at least in the past couple of decades, a fealty to seniority.
Yeah.
I mean, Republicans now don't have the same seniority system that Democrats have on the committees that they're on. And that has been a real problem, because you had literally a generation. Chuck Schumer is one of those. I mean, Pelosi is actually probably like the greatest generation. I don't know if she's actually a boomer. She may be just a little bit older than a boomer. But they were sitting atop these committees, these politicians, and they were basically starving oxygen for people who were my age and a little bit younger. And so anybody who grew up with like new media or this and that, they're just kept out of the loop. And we see it in the context of like, Chuck Schumer is functioning as if it's in the 1990s. And I would say even Hakeem Jeffries was chosen by someone who also had a similar sort of perspective. Like, let's not kid ourselves. Hakeem Jeffries is Speaker, or I should say minority leader, because Nancy Pelosi wanted him to.
True.
And so he was cut in that same cloth. What was considered attributes at that time was not, the ability to communicate with the American public.
It's the ability to fundraise. That's the thing that I can't get over, is when they say, like, it's New York City. It's New York City. Zoran can't be replicated across the country. Sell that to the two leaders of your party in the Senate and the House that you selected. Like, they can't make the argument that New York City's out of touch and that the Democrats shouldn't listen to that dynamic, and also have the leader of the House and the leader of the Democrats in the House and Senate be from that city. So it's just insane.
And they are the least popular national figures from the city. Because, like, AOC eats a lot of attacks, but she is a relatively popular national figure. Bernie Sanders is another example, is from Vermont, but like I would go so far as say that, like, normally I think if they were to attack Zoran, for example, they would have tied him back to Bernie and AOC, and instead they tied him to someone like myself.
Yep.
I think that's a little interesting, because think about what this media cycle would have looked like in under Trump 1, or not Trump 1, but like under the Biden administration. If the Republican or like establishment Democrats were actively trying to squeeze out their left flank, they probably would have associated him with AOC and Bernie. The reason why they're not doing that anymore is because the oligarchy tour, like the Stop Oligarchy tour and things like that, have actually created a lot more prestige and a lot more favorability for the likes of AOC and Bernie Sanders. So like that wing of the party is objectively more successful and more popular in its outreach and also in its policies in the eyes of the broader base of support.
Yep.
I mean, you see it right here. Wait a second. I don't think I have I don't have the picture. But like there's a piece in the New Yorker magazine, socialism or abundance. You've got a picture of a national leader, and the only person representing any other, you have a two-time presidential candidate who remains, and I will say this, Somebody else point to me. I guess Joe Biden maybe, but Joe Biden never got as close to the presidency as Bernie Sanders did in either 2016 or 2020. I mean, he ran, but he didn't get very far in any of those elections. Who is as popular, a two-time loser, who is as popular as Bernie Sanders is, and they put him into contrast with Ezra Klein, who, I mean, okay, he's a New York Times columnist, but where's
his base?
Here's the cover.
Where's the politician who represents abundance or whatever?
Where are the abundists?
Exactly.
Where is the abundist movement?
I mean, that's what's sort of fascinating about it, is that nobody wants that label.
Yeah.
No politician wants that label.
Yeah, because they would have to put like what, Marie Gluesenkamp Perez or whatever, and that would look ridiculous. Everyone would be like, okay, yeah, I know exactly who I'm going for. And
well, not to Ezra. Not to Ezra. He included Mary Gluesenkamp Perez as his other, in that horrific op-ed that we were talking about yesterday in the New York Times. He was saying the Democrats have need to be a big tent, from the likes of Zoran Mamdani and Bernie Sanders to Mary Gluesenkamp Perez and Joe Manchin. It's like, oh yeah, all the people that are
Joe
filling
Manchin
stadium.
is an independent.
I know, he's not even in the party anymore.
Yeah.
But then I think he cited Jared Golden too, right? Which is basically he's basically a libertarian kind of Democrat at this point.
It's funny because like whenever they talk about like popularism, even like the David Shore method, right? It's always strange that they never bring up Israel, which is like the objectively most popular thing that you could use as an issue if you wanted to present yourself as an earnest candidate, especially right now when there is an opportunity to do that, because it's still somewhat of a unique issue that weirdly enough none of the Democrats are speaking out on and none of the Republicans are speaking out on. Like, this is the opportunity, and that's why I hate that like Marjorie Taylor Greene and them are like seizing on that moment to be like, we are the people who are earnest because we do actually take Israel to task, but they never bring up Israel, and they always.
Well, that's what I mean. They'll move from like what helps electorally to like, well, there's some things you can't really change,
right?
And they decide what those are.
And what I've seen that is really interesting is like there is definitely a state of panic amongst the consulting class, because they're doing the welcome pack, they're doing all of these like different. Every other week, it seems like they invent like a new Yale graduate to come in and come from one of these think tanks to be like, actually, it's we need moderation. We need to move away from the cultural issues. We need to just say we need to also be like anti-trans, but also we need to at least have light economic populism in our agenda. And it's like, okay, that's what Biden did, and that's what Kamala Harris did.
Right.
Like and they lost. So obviously that method didn't work, because like everything that they have recirculated is exactly what Matty Iglesias loved about the Kamala Harris campaign. Yep. How is that not an alarming thing?
I think people really have to sort of internalize this Israel thing. If you wanted to sit down and you wanted to make the argument that there is no position that is sacrosanct, right? Like, I mean, we're going to put it all on the table. We're going to put abortion on the table. We're going to put trans rights on the table. Yeah. You've got to put Israel on the table. And if you look at the numbers, I mean, if you look at and you say like, okay, there's no, we don't make an assessment on what is just or what is right or what is even consistent with the Democratic brand to the extent that it exists, even if we imagine it.
70% of Democrats think Israel's committing genocide. Only 8% of Democrats support Israel's military action in Gaza, and that was from 3 months ago.
But even put aside what Democrats think about it, because the whole idea is to appeal to the right. Like, where is there more opportunity than to come out and say we are no longer going to provide aid to Israel? Just like that.
That same poll, 25% of independents are that's the amount that supports Israel's military action in Gaza. Just to add to your point, is that the majority of independents are against this crap too.
All right, look, we got to take a break. When we come back, maybe we'll take some phone calls. We got some more clips to go through, and we're going to head into the fun half of the program. And we'll talk about like what you're doing for coverage tonight. If you're a free member, or you're a free listener, we're going to be back here tonight, probably around 8-ish, to start doing coverage. And hopefully we're going to have some people call in from the various Zoran parties. I think there's like multiple ones around the city.
Yeah.
And people call in. We may even like send a stringer to one of them. We're not sure yet, but we'll be probably drinking. And what? Oh, here's the other thing I wanted to say. Today is Tuesday, November 4th. It is the 5-year anniversary of Emma Vigeland coming onto this program.
Damn. You've been here for 5 years? That's crazy.
I know. There's a bunch of, you can't hear it, but a million sound drops are playing at once right now.
Yeah, it's the shofar. What do you mean I can't hear it? I can feel it in my heart. Spiritually.
That's beautiful. Yes. It's been 5 years, I guess. Yeah, wow. So
that's crazy.
There used to be, if you can see that rod
two
there.
TYT
When
alumni.
Emma first came in,
there was a clear shower curtain hanging between us because it was
that
the pandemic.
blue thing there.
Oh,
Everything was jerry-rigged.
And
in
the
this
window
office.
would always be open, even in the dead of winter. I still have a blanket in that locker over there that I used to wrap my legs in. So
I had one of those CO2 measures, and I could actually get the CO2 levels in this office to be essentially consistent with being outside.
Yeah.
So,
congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah.
I can't believe it's been 5 years.
5 years.
5 years.
Well,
yeah.
you've done a
It's been
great job so far.
Thanks.
We'll see.
What's
Becoming
this guy
5 years.
saying?
He can't be sincere.
So far. So far, so good.
That's it. That's it.
Also, best of Sam.
Oh, yes. And folks, if you have best ofs, suggestions, send us an email at majorityreporters@gmail.com. Put in the subject line best ofs. And again, they can go all the way back into 2024 in November. Now, things were a little somber, I think, in November 2024, but maybe in December there was some best ofs. I don't know. But just put in your suggestion. It can be a fun half thing too. Somebody said David Feldman calling in about, I think it was ice.
Oh yeah, humorous clips you see from the fun half. Send those in too.
The emotion chart, PBD.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that's an easy first ballot. Yeah.
Just a reminder, it's your support that makes the show possible. You can become a member at jointhemajorryreport.com. When you do, you not only get the free show free of commercials, you also get the fun half. Matt, Left Reckoning.
Yeah, big show tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern. Griscom talked with Catherine Liu. Great conversation there. And I talked with some North Texas DSA folks about anti-algorithmic rental pricing campaign that they're running, and Sandeep Vaheesan on these non-competes that the FTC was trying to implement and that Trump has gutted. So a big show. No post-game. In fact, the post-games might be done because some changes are coming to a Left Reckoning soon. And there's going to be a little bit of programming changes, but I would just say keep your Friday afternoons clean, folks. Got some announcements.
Well, look at you, like you're giggling, like you're bursting at the seams.
And we're we don't have any more extra
An
money.
extra show coming on Friday.
All right, quick break. Head into the fun half.